So welcome back to the Daily Tanya. Today is Tuesday, the fourth day of Tishrei. Baruch Hashem, we enter the new year, and we're sure that Hashem gives us and will give each and every one of us B'sich Sheklal Israel a good year, Shana Tova Mesuka. And today we say the additional chapters in Tehillim 97, 98, 99. And today we will begin a new chapter 20 in the Igeret HaKodesh. This is a very deep essay, and it is very interesting. The Alter Rebbe wrote this essay a few days before he passed away. As his grandson, that Tzemach Tzedek, testified, he was with him. We know, if you know the story, when Alter Rebbe ran away during the War of Napoleon, and Napoleon with Russia, the Alter Rebbe sided with Russia, and he didn't want to be under Napoleon. It's a long story, not for today, but and then he got sick, and he passed away on the way. And what is interesting, that in the few days before he passed away, Alter Rebbe wrote this essay, which basically explains the specialty, the unique gift that we have here in this physical world. You know, you would think a person, a tzaddik, in the level of the Alter Rebbe, in a time like this, he would feel and appreciate the greatness of the higher spiritual worlds. But the Alter Rebbe came and explained how the greatness of this physical world, and how doing mitzvahs in this physical world is greater than everything. So the Alter Rebbe already explained this concept in the first part in the Tanya, but there he mainly spoke about the fact that this is God's will, that this is the ultimate will of Hashem, is to have a home in this world, that we should be able to bring godliness into the lowest places where Hashem is hidden, and also we should be able to transform and purify our physical selves. But here, the Alter Rebbe adds a much deeper concept, a much deeper point, and that is the fact that to create a physical world, to create a physical being that feels itself as an independent being, that can only come from the highest place within Hashem. So all the higher spiritual worlds are an emanation of Hashem's light, but for that you don't need to use the very essence of Hashem to create them. But to create the very physical world, Hashem uses his very essence. So, and again, this is a very deep chapter. We will go along and explain as much as we can understand. So let's begin. Let's begin with tzedakah. Yadayla tzedakah shemekareves es hageula. Tzedakah brings Mashiach closer. So the Alter Rebbe begins by explaining first about the lights and the vessels of the world of Atzilut. We explained that there is Hashem created the world in order for the infinite God to create a physical world. It went through the processes, as explained from the Arizal, that originally there was the light of Hashem. Hashem's presence was everywhere. And again, we're not talking about physical space. The presence, the only being was Hashem, the only thing that existed. And Hashem had the desire to have a world. And for that purpose, Hashem removed his infinite light and allowed an empty void, and he drew a smaller condensed light. And in the Kabbalah, it explains the different level, the different stages of the contraction, condensing of the light of Hashem. But ultimately, there was the creation of the world came about through first creating the world of Atzilus. The world of Atzilus is the world of emanation, and that is the highest of the four worlds. After the world of Atzilus came the world of Bria, world of Yetzirah, and world of Asiya, the four world of creation, formation, and the world of action. When we're talking about worlds, we're not talking about different places. You don't have to take a space shuttle to get there. It's all here. It's all about the reality and the how much godliness is revealed. So the world of Atzilus is a world that Hashem is one. Hashem is there. It's all one with godliness. From the world of Atzilus, after the world of Atzilus, came already the concept of creation, where there is something which senses itself as separated, although it feels connected with what comes above, but it still senses itself as separated. That is the world of Bria, then Yetzirah, then Asiya. Now here it brings a quote from the Zohar, that in the world of Atzilus, he and his light is one, he and his energy is one, Hashem and his light is one, and he v'garmo yichad, and he and the vessels are one. Now, to understand a little bit, what does it mean? The light and the vessels. So, the light represents the energy that comes from Hashem, which it does not have any definitions. It is simple, it is plain, it is beyond definitions. The vessels give a shape to the energy. An example that is used in Chassidus is, for example, you have a light that comes through colored windows. So the light itself is devoid of color, doesn't have any color. But the windows is the vessels that give color to the light. The godly energy that comes down, and then you have the vessels that give shape to the energy to become in the shape of intellect, of emotions, one kind of emotion, another kind of emotions. So he says in the world of Atzilus, you have these definitions, but still it does not take away from the fact that they are one with godliness itself. In the other worlds, you have already the separation, where the creation can sense itself and feels itself as a separate being. So let's see inside what Alter Rebbe says. So he brings the quotes from the Zohar. It says, Iyu v'chayo yichad. He and his life-giving emanations are one, meaning the light, orot, and of the Sephiros. The Sephiros is the emotive attributes, the attributes of the world, which we call the vessels. So the vessels, they have the light of the vessels, which, like souls, animated vessels, the kelim of the Sephiros are not merely connected to God, they are actually one with Him. And the same thing, Iyu v'garmoi chad b'hoin, and he and his causations, garmoi, literally means organs, are one in them. Which means, he says that the Him, Hashem, and the vessels of Atzilus are also one with Hashem. Pirush, Esat Spheres de Atzilus, that is, in the 10 spheres of Atzilus, this is when we can say, only in the world of Atzilus, that is when we can say that he and his vessels are one. So Chayoy Eino Oires, his life-giving emanation, these are the lights, the oiris of the Sephiros, the lights of the Sephiros. Vegarmoi hein akelim, and his causations, these are the vessels, the kelim of the Sephiros. Shekuna Elikus, they are all divinity, one with the infinite Ein Sof light, for they are divinity. This is only true in the world of Atzilus, in the highest of the four worlds. This is not the case in the world of Beriya, Yetzira, and Asiya, and so on. So in these lower worlds, the kelim of the Sephiris are as well as a distinct measure of the Orot, are not divinity but created beings. So the kelim as well as the Orot are not divinity, they are considered created beings. And the question Alter Rebbe now is asking, how could you say about something defined, something limited like the vessels, because ultimately vessels represent something which some kind of limit. How could you define and how could you say that this is one with the Ein Sof, with the endless light? It needs to be clearly understood how the Ein Sof is one with his causations, meaning with the kelim of the Sephiros. Arei HaKelim im B'chinas Gvul v'Tachlis, k'mei shekosu b'Etz Chaim. For the kelim, the vessels are limited and finite, as is stated in Etz Chaim. Why? Because what is the vessels? They represent the finite. You have the vessel of Chesed, for example, kindness. Chesed is not Gevura, and Gevura is not Chesed. So each one are defined in a way. So how could you say they're one with the Ein Sof? So the Alter Rebbe explains the meaning when we say that the vessels and the kelim and the vessels of Atzilus are one with the Ein Sof, with the endless light of Hashem. It means to say that in their actions, meaning the action of creating something from nothing. In that way, they are one with the Ein Sof, just like the Ein Sof creates something from nothing. So too is that the vessels of Atzilus also have this godly power to create something from nothing. Says the Alter Rebbe, Omnam hakavana yiloymar she'ein elikus livro yesh me'ayin kemoy Ein Sof. However, the intention of the statement of the Ein Sof is one with his kelim, is to say that they are divinity with regard to creating something out of nothing, just as the Ein Sof is capable of doing. And here the Alter Rebbe goes to explain the difference between creating something from nothing and creating, and the evolution of Ila ve'olu, which means cause and effect. A creation, anything that comes, to use an example, what is the example of cause and effect? A creation of cause and effect is, for example, you have an emotion. Emotion is an effect that comes out of a cause of a logic. For example, you listen to the news, you listen to what's happening in Ukraine, for example, and you have develop a certain emotions. What's happening? What's going on over there? You have emotions of pity. You pity people who suffer. You can get an emotion of anger on the perpetrators. So the emotions come as what? As an effect of the cause. The cause is the understanding, and you can draw a line between the cause and the effect. When we're talking about creation, something from nothing it's only a one-way line that you can draw, which you cannot see the line. But there is a creator and there is a creation, but you cannot draw if you want to reverse engineer something, you can't do it. You can reverse engineer anything that comes as a cause and effect. Science in this world, everything scientific can be planned, can be looked at, can be studied, and can be engineered, can be reverse engineered. You can see the connection between point A and point B. This is all in Ila va'olol, in cause and effect. Everything we can imagine is cause and effect. But the creation of something from nothing, the quantum leap that we take, is something that it's impossible for us to draw a line, because it's beyond. There's this leap, there's this gap from the nothingness, which in our end, from our view, it's nothing, because we don't know what it is. Something comes out, something that we can relate to. So this is the power in Atzilus. The vessels of Atzilus have also the power of creating the something from nothing. And not merely by way of an evolution from Ila to Olol, from cause to effect, as linked in a casual progression wherein a being, the Olol or effect, evolves itself from its Ila, from its cause. So basically, in the world of Atzilus, which is called the world of emanation, it is the godly emanation. It's just like light. Light is emanated. It's not a creation. The first world that is called a creation is the world of Bria, which comes after Atzilus. So which means that from Atzilus to Bria, there you have the idea of the yesh ma'ayin, like something new is created. Unlike the Ila va'olol, that cause and effect. In the world of Bria, Yetzirah, Asiyah, the chain-like descent, as they call it, is this kind of descent, which is a cause and effect, which one is linked to the other. The higher level is linked to the lower level, just like a chain. You have the rings in the chain, that the bottom of the top ring is connected to the top of the bottom ring. And that is one level leads to the other until this physical world. But when you're talking about from Atzilus, which is the world of emanation, to the lower worlds, there is the way of yesh ma'ayin, something from nothing is created, without being able to detect the link between the two. So now the Alter Rebbe goes on to say, what we do find from Rabbi Moshe Cordovera, which is a Kabbalist before the Arizal, and he says that we find the concept of cause and effect even in the world of Atzilus. And this seems to contradict to what we just said. The Alter Rebbe explains that this is only the cause and effect within the vessels of Atzilus itself, but not from Atzilus to the lower worlds. So that's what Alter Rebbe goes into saying. Inyan Ishtalshelus, Ila va'olun, Mechenu v'zoya HaKodesh Parashat Bereshis. As for the statement of Rabbi Moshe Cordovera, that creative developments in the spheres take place by way of Ila and Alu, the cause and effect, and so is it stated also in the sacred Zohar, Parshas Bereshis. The Alter Rebbe explains, this refers to the evolution of the spheres within the spheres themselves, whereby one sphere evolves from another, for example, Bina from Chachma. So within the spheres, the level of the attribute of Bina and understanding is evolved from the Chachma, the wisdom, as we explained many times. And this is Bebchinas HaKelim, Shenikrois Bli Ma B'Sefer Yetzirah. With respect to the Kelim, which are termed Bli Ma, without anything, in Sefer Yetzirah. And what does it mean without anything? She'einon bebchinas yeshu me'us musig, because they are not in the category of a substance, a yesh, nor of a nature that is apprehensible to created being. Kemo ein soif the leis machshavet fisa beklal, like the ein soif, whom thought cannot grasp at all. So too are the kelim of the Sephir is called Beli Ma, without anything, tangible and comprehensible by created beings. So this is the idea that the Kelim of Atzilut are one with the Ein Sof. As it is written, in my face, God's pnimius and inner self shall not be seen. ונבואת משה רבינו עליו השלום והשגוסה, oisa mipeirik Elion the Netzach Dezer Anpin. This is the prophecy and apprehension of Moses, our master, peace to him, related to the upper rank of Netzach of Zeir Anpin. This is discussed in chapter 19. We're talking about the level of the apprehension of Moshe Rabbeinu, that he also is not able to reach to the levels of Atzilus, the light of Atzilus, only from the lowest level, the lower levels, the attributes of Netzach, Netzach Hod Yesod, which are those emotive attributes that relate to the outside. This is where Moshe Rabbeinu is able to understand and comprehend. Now, and in the evolution, the Olu, before it emerges as a distinct entity, is encompassed by its Ilah. The effect is sort of encompassed by the cause. And it is in a state of utter self-nullification in relation to it, just as the ray of the sun loses any independent identity and is essentially non-existent when it is within the sun. As is stated in Pardes from Moshe Kordavira. So therefore, he says when it comes to the creation, when you're talking about the cause and effect, you cannot have a creation, a physical creation, no matter how many contractions and how many levels you go down, it will not be able to create a physical being from a spiritual being. ואף צמצומים רבי מאוד לא יועילו ליוס גשם of כאופה, משתל של רוחניס מסחולים נבדלים אפילו של המלאכים. Thus, even numerous contractions, even enough to make the screen light utterly dissimilar to the original light, will not avail to bring about matter dense as earth, by way of evolution from the spirituality of abstract intelligence, not even by way of an evolution from the spirituality of the angels. What can evolve? Only the spiritual part. Just like the spirit of the animal, that can evolve from the spiritual levels. That will only come into being as a result of a graded evolvement, the spirit of animal that derives from the face of an ox of the celestial chariot. So although the spirit that animates the body of an animal can in no way be compared to its spiritual source in the face of the ox, of the chariot. By means of ishtalshelus, meaning a chain-like descent, the soul of the animal can eventually evolve from there, since this soul too is spiritual in nature. So ishtalshelus, however, cannot result in the innovative creation of a physical entity from something spiritual. As explained elsewhere, examined it well. So basically what the Alter Rebbe is saying, that this is something different between Yesh Me'ayin and Ilah and Olo. Something from nothing compared to cause and effect. You cannot have a cause and effect that leads to from spiritual to a physical being. This you need to have a creation of Yesh Me'ayin, something from nothing, something that you take the quantum leap. So this is the end of today's shir. It's Hashem. We'll try again in the next few days to explain as much as possible this deepest chapter in the Tanya. So we'll see you tomorrow. B'ezrat Hashem. Have a wonderful day.